so excited to be here with you today because I feel like today's topic is, I feel like I'm so talking to my people today. So this training, this video, this conversation, this discussion is so for you if you find yourself thinking and obsessing about food all the time. You turn to food throughout the day, or you find yourself eating when you're not hungry. It's like food becomes your go-to to deal with life. If that is you, then stick around because this conversation is totally for you. So hi, I'm Debbie Lichter, founder of Freedom Embodied Academy, and it is my absolute honor, to support folks in getting free from food addiction and obsession, because as a recovered food addict and food obsessor, I know how it is. I know how it's like a whole, like you're leading this double life of like this whole obsession that's going on with food in the background as you're moving through your life, and nobody else gets it if they don't have this deal. This is what I've found, is that people don't get it. And so if you're resonating with what I'm talking about, then chances are you're going to resonate with some of the secrets that I'm going to be sharing with you today about how to be able to not turn to food throughout the day, how to be able to not turn to food to deal and cope with life. Like, this is an actual possibility, and I didn't think it was a possibility either. If you're sitting there going, yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to always deal with this, or just try to manage it, or just try to be good, or stick to the plan, or whatever it is. And I'm just here to tell you that no, you can be free from the obsession with food. You can be free from the addiction with food. You can be free from the pattern of eating when you're not hungry and not stopping eating when you're full. You can be free from that constant thinking about food and what you should have and what you can't have and what you can have and all of that stuff. You can be free and clear of that. And I can tell you right now that it does not come from being good or getting it under control or sticking to the plan or any of those things that you might have heard other people talking about. So what we're going to get into specifically today are some things that you can implement right away to support you in learning how to not turn to food throughout the day. So, gosh, when I was feeling into this, I remember I could have a breakfast, like a decent breakfast. I could have a decent breakfast, and within an hour of eating breakfast, sometimes earlier, I was already thinking about food again. I was thinking about, did I have enough? Should I have more? When's lunchtime? I felt like food was something that constantly popped up. Working on an email, all of a sudden I start thinking about food. In the middle of a conversation with someone at work, and start fantasizing about what I was going to be eating later. It was this constant thing. And so if you relate to that, first of all, I want to hear in the comments if you relate to that. You can just say obsession in the comments, so I know that you're with me here and we're on the same page together. But what I want to dive into right now is the first of the 3 tips that I want to share with you today, because this is so huge. And the first thing, and I was just getting into a conversation with someone earlier today who was saying, I get so angry throughout my day, and, I'm like, and then I turn to food, and then I'm mad at myself for eating, and I feel guilty, and I feel ashamed, and all this stuff. And so I think the very first thing that is really helpful so that we're not turning to food throughout the day is to actually get real with what you feel. And, one thing that I hear a lot from people is, I'm feeling anxious. And I know that feeling. I know that tension in your body, and your chest and your pulse is going and your mind is racing, and it almost feels like you can't take a full breath. Like, I know the sensory experience of being anxious. And anxiety, in my experience, is not an actual feeling. It's a sensory experience. But what I find is that anxiety is oftentimes something that is covering up what's actually going on deeper down, that there's a deeper feeling that's actually going on for you deep down. And the anxiety is kind of what we're doing on the surface to distract or numb ourselves from that. And so if you move throughout your day and you find yourself getting nervous or anxious or these kinds of things, overwhelmed, this kind of stuff, it's an indication in that moment to actually pause, to drop in with inside of yourself, and just to become aware of what's there. You know, when I started doing this, I remember I'm so grateful to say that I don't get anxious very often. But so when it happens, I'm like excited about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can be a guinea pig. Like, how am I going to mitigate this? What am I going to do with it? How am I going to metabolize this? What's going on? And so I remember a few months ago, I was leaving the supermarket and I was getting into my car, and I just was like, you know, that sort of like that anxious tension that you're kind of moving throughout the day, and you're sort of just, things are a little bit irritating to you and you're kind of just not feeling okay and you don't know why. And it's just like this thing that's kind of gnawing at you. Well, I had all that going on, and I was just at the supermarket, but I had all that going on. And so I remember getting in my car, and I was about to just like start my car. I didn't even know really where I was going. I mean, I could have gone home, but whatever, but I didn't really kind of have like a game plan. And I remember instead just getting really present to, okay, I'm feeling anxious. The chances are there's something going on deeper down. And so I just paused in my car. I got quiet. And what I got present to in that moment was the deepest feeling of loneliness. Like the deepest feeling of loneliness. And I just like, I felt like tears bubbling up, and I didn't even know where the tears were coming from. I don't even know where the loneliness was coming from, but like I've stopped trying to figure that out. I've stopped trying to identify and isolate and make that all make sense. And instead, I just got really, really present to this emotion that was happening inside of me. And I started to just let the emotion express itself, just bubble up through me. And I went deep into it. I let my whole body get taken over by that emotion without trying to make it wrong or trying to fix it or trying to understand it or analyze it. This is a powerful, powerful exploration. It's something that I really dive deeper into in the Freedom Embodied Academy. It's something that we call emotion alchemy, where you actually really let yourself get fully immersed in the feeling without trying to fix it or change it. It's such a powerful thing to do. And I highly recommend it, because so many times we feel a feeling or an emotion and then we instantly go up into our head trying to understand it, trying to make it go away, trying to analyze it. And we actually rob ourselves of the experience of what we're feeling. We rob that part of ourselves that just wants to feel what we feel. I know this can be really challenging if you are feeling anger or resentment, that rage that can happen. Earlier this week, I think I need to do a whole nother video of this, because it was like such a powerful experience and such a powerful example of, oh my gosh, I used other tools that I'm going to talk about in a second, and I didn't go to food. I'll talk about that in just a moment, about the tool that I used, but I got really, really angry. Like, do you ever get like that instant rage? Like something happens and it's like you go from 0 to 60 in like 0.2 seconds. And that's what happened to me. I got so, so angry. If I went and denied that, that would not have been very, very healthy. Or if I tried to tell myself to just let it go, I don't find that works very well. So, you know, I'll share what I did in the next tool that I talk about, because I was in a real life dynamic and discussion, so I couldn't do some of these things I'm going to suggest right now. But if you notice yourself just burning up with rage, burning up with anger, you know, some really, really powerful things to do. First of all, to let yourself just fully feel it. Like, what would it be like to just let it fully take over? You're not going to get lost in it. Here's the thing, is that emotions are energy in motion. They want to move. They want to move through us. What happens is we start to feel something. We don't want to feel it. We clamp it down. We stuff it down. We don't want to identify as it or with it. And so we kind of deny it. And then it stays stuck inside of us. But if you actually set all that aside and you let yourself just fully feel the emotion, it's going to move through you. Emotions are going to wash through you. And so some of the ways to do that are to feel it fully. If you're in a place where you can actually write and journal, I have written some really nasty things in a journal that I would never actually say to somebody or say out loud, but it's like, it's really liberating to just let yourself express it in, like, you know, in written format, to just let the emotion come out. So that's the first thing. It is so, so powerful. I remember when I was running a health club, again, you know, looking like the picture of health, running a health club, all smiles, trying to keep it together, totally obsessed with food, addicted to food, living this double life. And I remember every single time I'd walk into work, the moment I grabbed the handle of the front door and opened the door, I remember I would tell myself, you're on. And whatever emotions, whatever ickiness, or hey, Lucy, whatever ickiness or yuckiness or whatever I was feeling going on inside, I would just shut that down and move on. And I would just try to swallow it. And I thought that that was really good. I thought that was me controlling my emotions. I had no idea the toll that was taking on me and how that was sending me to food. Hi, I'm so glad that you tuned in. Yay, so good to see you. So that's the first tip, the first secret. The second secret that I want to share with you is something that actually came up in this instance this week. So I'll share with you a little bit more about the story. So I was at this 3-day event, and I was invited to bring my jewelry there. So I came the day beforehand to set up my whole deal. I told them I needed 3 tables. They said, you've got to organize your own stuff. I bought my tables. I brought everything. We went to the room. I said, where should I set up? We decided on where I was going to set up. I put my tables out. They looked beautiful. The sun was shining right on my tables. I was like, this is going to be gorgeous. I'm really, really excited. I went home to go and get more supplies and more stuff to bring to be able to, you know, set the whole table up, set up my display for my jewelry. And when I came back, my tables had been completely moved. They'd been separated. They'd been moved apart. They'd been put in the corner. One was over on the opposite side of the room. It was completely disoriented. And I turned to the woman who was organizing, and I said, what's going on? She said, oh yeah, you know, we kind of decided your section was just taking up a little bit too much real estate. So we decided to break it up here. And can you do a table here and a kind of a little bit there? And maybe just do 2 tables and don't do. I can't tell you how angry I got. I got so angry. I felt so like disrespected, like so unfair. I went and bought these tables, and you all knew I needed these tables. I mean, it was this whole thing. It sounds so small, but you know, in your own life, I want you to track in your own life where you experience these things happening. It's like something, you're like, okay, it's all working out. And then all of a sudden something happens, and it's like, you just go from, you go from like fine to just awful. Just let me know in the comments if you know what I'm talking about, where like something will happen in your life and all of a sudden it's just not going your way. It sucks. You feel victimized. You feel like it's totally unfair. This is what happened to me in the moment. And so I'm like in the reel, and my face is hot. You know that experience? And I was embarrassed too, because I was angry, and I started to, you know, I'm like, but this is not it. And I was embarrassed because I'm speaking to this woman, and I'm embarrassed that she can see me losing my cool, right? So I've got the anger and the frustration and the, you know, like all the stuff going on, the actual original feelings going on. Then I've got the layer on top of the embarrassment that I feel for losing my cool in a professional setting. And so here's what I did. And here's the tool that I want to support you with, because I can tell you right now that this kind of a scenario would have sent me to food instantly. The embarrassment, the shame, the anger, the unfairness, the whole thing would have been a perfect recipe to go to food. And instead, here's what I did. I spoke up. I spoke up. And the powerful thing is that I was able to speak up in a way that wasn't like verbally like unleashing on this woman. because I spoke into what was real for me in the moment. And so I said something along the lines of this: I'm so not okay with this right now. I'm sure you can tell that. This is what I thought was going on. You guys knew this. I'm feeling overwhelmed with like what is going on right now, and I'm feeling like this isn't fair. It's not working. And I'm also embarrassed that I'm feeling all these things because I feel like I'm acting really entitled when I should really be very gracious for the opportunity to be here. So I've got all of this happening right now. It's very, very vulnerable to speak up at that level. But I promise you, if you are willing to speak up authentically. See, sometimes we think I've got to speak my truth and we're going to tell someone off, and we're like, I got to speak my mind, and you got to know, and you can't do that to me, and don't you know who I am? And, you know, or we like stuff it down, we go silent. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to, you know, upset people. We don't want confrontation. And so we just kind of like smile like, oh, okay, I'll just kind of work it out. Both of those other things are going to send you to food. I can just tell you hands down from personal experience and from working with so many people over the last decade, that stuff will turn you to food. Yeah, I know, call them the C word, totally, Lucy, I hear you. This is the kind of stuff, but if you can authentically speak into what's happening for you in the moment, I promise you this is an access point to freedom. It's not something that happens overnight. In fact, you know, in the Freedom Embodied Academy, we work up to this about 5 months of you know, getting free from some of the things that are blocking you to be able to come to this level of clarity and speaking up. So if it's not something you can do right away, certainly don't blame yourself. But I want to share with you this tool as just letting you know what's possible out there, because this is huge. It's so, so huge. And this brings me to key number 3 that I'd like to share with you today. This is a biggie too. So raise your hand if you feel like you don't take time for you. If you find yourself ever saying, well, it's really hard for me to take time for myself. I've got a family, I've got work, I've got these commitments and these various things. It's really hard for me to take some time for myself. I can do stuff for other people, but it's hard for me to sit still and be with myself. It's hard for me to take time for myself. If you've ever said any of these terms, what I want to share with you is something that really came to me as a result of being on my own journey of freedom around my food obsession and addiction. And what I got really present to was that I pretty much walked around with this feeling of inadequacy. Like the moment that I'm thinking about food while I'm writing an email, when I got aware of it and I would stop and I'm like, why am I thinking about food? I would get present to the fact that, oh, because I'm feeling inadequate because I don't know how to respond to this person. Because I'm being asked to do something and it's intimidating me and I feel like I'm gonna be bad at it. And so I don't wanna feel that. And so I start thinking about food. Like this feeling of lack, this feeling of not enough, this feeling of something's wrong with me or I'm not doing it right or I don't know how to do that. This stuff was a common theme going on for me all the time. If you relate to any of that, then just put not enough in the comments just so I know that we're on the same page here. And so when I share this tool is so much bigger than, oh, I've got to take some self-care time. I've got to just take some time for me. This is so, so big because it's touching us not just at that sort of, you know, physical level. It's touching us at a deep, deep spiritual level, of something's not complete in me. Something is off. Something is inadequate in me. Something is lacking in me. This tool is about filling up. If you want to not be thinking about and obsessing about and turning to food throughout your day, you have got to fill up from the inside. You've got to fill up on something even more sustainable, even more powerful, even more something that's going to have you feeling an even greater sense of ease and comfort and comfortability in your own skin and being okay no matter what, and sufficiency and enoughness, something that's going to truly, truly fill you up. Because I can promise you right now that no amount of food will ever have you feeling filled up on that deep, deep internal level inside. And you know what I'm talking about. If you have eaten and eaten and eaten, and the more you eat, even though your body's stuffed, the more empty you feel, the more alone you feel, the worse you feel, then you know what I'm talking about. And so I want to share with you, yeah, thank you, Lucy, for your honesty. So I want to share with you some three ways to just support you in filling up, in the Freedom Embodied Academy. So one of the pillars of the Freedom Embodied Academy is resourcing, like RE-sourcing, that instead of outsourcing power, right? Instead of outsourcing our need to be validated or feel like we're enough or feel our worth, it's important to resource, to connect, to tap into source frequency and to actually fill up on that. And so I want to share with you a couple of ways to do that, because this is the ultimate way for you to feel filled up inside. And I promise you that if you can truly embody this piece, and it is a simple thing to say, it is not easy to do. I take women through an entire year-long process so that they can learn how to authentically do this and return to this place all the time. So again, don't put pressure on yourself, but I am gonna share with you just a couple of quick tips and tools that you can use to help you to resource, to fill up fully from inside. So the first is to connect in your body, is to move, to get out of your head, to get into your body, to ground and feel your feet on the earth, to feel your pelvis, to feel your body. So even right now, you can take an inhale and imagine your awareness going down. Imagine your breath moving down from your head and your throat and moving down your chest and down your torso and your belly and hips and your legs and all the way to the soles of your feet. Do you feel how that just takes you out of your head? Try it again. Inhale. And then just imagine that breath going down the back of your throat, down your chest. Imagine that breath continuing down your torso and your belly and your hips and your thighs and the lower legs and all the way to the soles of your feet. So imagine if you were actually moving in the world, living in the world from the presence and the awareness from your body. It's an incredible place to be. I can tell you right now that when we're living up in our heads, we constantly feel that lack and that not enoughness. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others, feeling insufficient, feeling inadequate. But when you are in your body, you are not in that head game anymore. You're not in that lack and that anxiety and that fear. You're actually dropped in and connected into the fullness of who you are, connected to where your gut intelligence is and your heart's wisdom is. So this is a powerful, powerful support tool for you. And sometimes even just something as simple as going for a long walk can be helpful for you to start to anchor in and connect into your body. Movement and dance is a beautiful way to do this as well. So connecting in your body is a wonderful way to fill up and to get out of your head, get out of that insufficiency, inadequacy, and that lack conversation. Another tool to support you in filling up fully is to be in nature. I'm so blessed. I've just moved down. I'm literally at the end of my street. I've got the beach right here. And so I've been going in the morning and just sitting and just feeling that connection with nature. It's so powerful. And oftentimes when we connect with nature, it like brings us back to an innocence within inside of ourselves. It brings us back to this feeling of resource and enoughness as we look at the ampleness and the abundance of nature happening all around us and growth happening all around us. So, you know, if going to the beach is your thing, if being in nature, being in the woods, going for a hike is your thing, or even just being in garden. I mean, sometimes if you're not by a lot of nature, I've just found like a plot of grass to put my feet on. You know, sometimes just connecting in with something natural in that way, whatever you have access to, is so, so powerful to just start to tap back into this feeling of infinite resource and abundance. And the final piece, and I touched on it just a moment ago, but I want to go deeper into it, is actually connecting deeply with that spiritual truth inside of you, that deeper spiritual connection. Now, I speak with lots and lots of people who have spiritual beliefs or who have, you know, like feel pretty uncomfortable with spiritual topics, feel like, you know, they kind of bristle around topics of spirituality. Here's what I find is that everybody, whether you feel like you have very strong beliefs or you have, well, I guess strong beliefs work in both ways, but you have a deep amount of faith or you are really resistant, what I find is that each one of us has a capacity to deepen in a more authentic connection and reliance and access to that experience of source within us. And here's what's powerful is that when you are tapped in, hooked in, right, resourcing, feeling filled up by that infinite resource of a power greater than yourself, of, you know, that universal wisdom or love, or however you want to consider or experience that greater power, when you are synced up with that, it's like you're being pumped full of this feeling of adequacy, of sufficiency, of enoughness, of I'm okay where I am, as I am. It's gonna be okay. No matter what's going on, it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. This is what we are striving for at the deepest, deepest level in my experience and just what I've seen being on this path and helping so many others get free, is that when we can fill up fully with this deep knowing, with this deep, I'm okay no matter what. I have an internal sense of ease and comfort going on inside of me, and that is allowing me to relax, to take a breath, to trust that I'm going to be okay no matter what. When we have this going on inside, it is incredible how the need to go to food vanishes, how the obsession with food goes away, how you just find yourself in this totally organic, intuitively guided relationship with food that you didn't orchestrate or manage at all. It just happened. This is what freedom from food addiction and obsession truly is. It just happens. This is what is so possible for you. I was just speaking with some of the ladies who are in their last couple months here of the Freedom Embodied Academy, who have gotten the freedom and who didn't think it was possible for them. And they got free and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it was like this. I have weight falling off of me. I'm not even focusing on food. I feel aligned with the foods that I'm eating and I don't obsess about it all the time. I have this general sense of ease and comfort. I'm okay. I feel okay in the world. I'm inspired and I'm always learning and growing. I'm always coming into deeper levels of congruence and alignment, and life is pretty freaking phenomenal right now. So if that is something that you deeply want, then these are tools and tips that can support you in having all of that. And if you are, if you find yourself in the place of being at the place in your journey where you feel like you've tried all these other things and nothing works, and you feel like there must just be something wrong with you because, you know, you just can't stick to the plan and you're trying to be good and you're trying not to have that food in the house, but then you end up overeating it anyway. If you feel yourself in this place where you're like, I know what to do, but I just don't do it, then I have a tool that I want to support you with. So it's a free tool. It's a download. It's just a little guide. It's my Freedom from Food Addiction Clarity Companion Guide. Here's what I find is that most people who are struggling with food, who say, I know what to do, but I'm just not doing it. I have all this nutrition knowledge. I just can't stick to the plan. I just need to have better willpower, better discipline. Here's what I find is that these folks are struggling with the same thing that I was struggling with, which is trying to fix a problem that you don't fully understand and doing it with an incomplete solution. So here's the thing, is that it's not that you are inadequate, that there's something wrong with you. The chances are that your approach, your strategy is inadequate. This is a game changer. So here's what I want to extend to you. If you want this, this Clarity Companion Guide, this Freedom from Food Addiction Clarity Companion Guide is just going to start to give you the insight, to give you the clarity about what addiction really is, what the food addiction really is, why does it happen, and what to actually do to get on the path of lasting freedom, because that's what I'm interested in with you here. I'm not here for the quick fix. I'm here to support you in having lasting freedom, because that is what I've had for the last decade. That is what I see happening with the women who have an opportunity to work with, and that's what I want to have happen for you too. So if you want that Clarity Companion Guide, it says easy download. Go to freedomfromfood.today. We'll put that link in the comments. So http://freedomfromfood.today. It'll pull that up. You can go ahead and download that. It's totally free to you. You can have that tool, have that support, and that can be a really powerful first step for you. And from there, we can get connected. And then, you know, there's some recommendations at the end of the guide about what the next steps are that can really support you with what's next, so that you can get even more clarity on your specific action plan to be on that path of freedom. So I hope today's training and discussion was valuable for you. It was such an honor to be here with you. I'm sending you so much love. I will check back with this video here. So if you're listening to the recording, please still make comments, and I'd love to know what the biggest takeaway was for you today. And definitely share with a friend if you feel like there's someone else in your life who is struggling with their relationship with food, their body, and you want to support them. This is a wonderful, wonderful gift to pay forward. So sending you so much love. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.